He left as a dreamer and returned as a billionaire. 15 years away from his homeland had built him a fortune, but also a distance from reality. When Ethan Carver's private jet landed in Georgia, he thought he was coming home to love, comfort, and family. The mansion stood proud, bathed in gold light, the perfect symbol of everything he'd achieved. But the night of his return, when the house was quiet and the world asleep, he heard something that would haunt him forever. Faint cries echoing from beneath the marble floors. Following the sound, he uncovered a secret buried under luxury and silence. There, in the dark, he found his black maid tied to a chair, and beside her his twins, bound and crying. What had happened inside his own home? Watch till the end. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. Ethan Carver had always believed money solved everything. Born to a working-class family in rural Georgia, he'd clawed his way up from nothing. A man fueled by ambition and sleepless nights. At 42, he owned real estate across continents, luxury hotels, and an empire that bore his name. Yet none of it compared to the anticipation of returning home after years abroad. His estate, a sprawling mansion outside Savannah, had been maintained by his staff in his absence. His children, Liam and Lila, now 8, had grown up under the care of his household team, supervised by his late wife's trusted butler, Gregory. Among the new faces was Maya, a young black maid, soft-spoken and gentle, who had been hired only a year ago. The afternoon he arrived, the sun stretched across acres of manicured lawn. The staff lined up by the grand staircase, smiles perfectly rehearsed. Ethan hugged his twins, kissed their foreheads, and felt a strange warmth return to his heart. For a moment, everything seemed right. But beneath the surface, there was something uneasy about the air, a tension that didn't belong. In the corners of the room, eyes avoided his. He brushed it off, unaware that his return would unearth a cruelty too dark to imagine. For the first few days, the mansion thrummed with life again. Ethan spent his mornings by the lake, his afternoons in meetings, and his evenings playing with the twins. Yet a quiet unease crept in like a shadow. He noticed that Maya, the maid, spoke very little. She moved silently, efficient but fragile, as if afraid to exist too loudly. Sometimes Ethan would catch her flinching when Gregory walked into the room. The butler's tone toward her was sharp, unnecessarily so. But she never reacted, only lowered her gaze. Then came the small things. Ethan overheard Lila once mutter, "Maya's not allowed upstairs when it's dark." Another time, he found a broken teacup hidden behind the pantry door, its shards swept carelessly aside, and a faint mark of blood near the handle. When he asked Gregory, the man dismissed it curtly. "Clumsy hands, sir. Won't happen again." But it did happen again. One stormy night, Ethan stayed up late reviewing old documents in his study. The house was asleep, save for the restless hum of wind outside. Around midnight, a faint sound reached his ears, muffled sobs, distant but unmistakable. He followed it down the corridor toward the west wing, where the servants' quarters lay. The closer he got, the stronger the sound became, pleading, broken, terrified. He stopped near a locked door leading to the basement. Dust collected on its handle, yet the keyhole gleamed as if it had been recently used. He pushed it open, and a wave of damp, cold air greeted him. The smell of metal, of fear. As he descended the narrow steps, the cries grew clearer, a woman's voice begging softly, and then a child's whimper. Ethan's pulse quickened. He called out, but the voices fell silent. Only the sound of dripping water remained. He raised his flashlight, heart pounding. In that moment, he realized something terrible. This was no accident. This was a secret hidden deliberately, and someone inside his own house wanted it kept that way. The beam of light cut through the darkness. There, in the corner of the basement, he saw her, Maya, bound to a wooden chair, wrists raw and bruised. Her eyes widened as the light hit her face. Beside her, the twins sat tied together, their small bodies shaking with fear. Standing before them was Gregory, the man Ethan had trusted for over a decade, the man who had been like a family member. His expression was void of remorse. Instead, there was a cold satisfaction, a twisted pride. "She needed to learn her place," Gregory said, voice low and venomous. "Your children were laughing with her, hugging her like she was one of them. I couldn't let that go on. Not in this house." Ethan froze, horror coursing through him. You did this?" Gregory stepped closer, eyes glinting. "You may have forgotten where you came from, sir, but I haven't. This is still Georgia. Some boundaries don't change." The room spun. Years of trust were shattered in seconds. Ethan lunged forward, untying the children first, his hands trembling. Gregory tried to stop him, but Ethan's rage was volcanic. The struggle was brief, a desperate blur of fists, fury, and anguish. When it ended, Gregory lay pinned to the ground, the flashlight clattering nearby. The truth hung heavy in the air. Beneath the gold ceilings and expensive art, his home had harbored the same poison that once built his fortune, the quiet cruelty of racism, alive and thriving behind closed doors. The police came before dawn. Gregory was arrested, still muttering about order and boundaries, his eyes void of humanity. Maya, trembling, was wrapped in a blanket by the paramedics. She held the twins tightly. They clung to her as if she were the only safe thing left in the world. Ethan watched, numb. The storm outside had passed, but inside him it raged still. He couldn't stop replaying Gregory's words, the venom, the certainty, the hate. How could something so evil survive under his roof? The truth was devastating. It had always been there. His success, his mansion, his power, they had insulated him from seeing the world's rot. In the weeks that followed, Ethan took decisive steps. The mansion was sold. Every penny went to create a foundation for victims of racial abuse, focusing on domestic workers like Maya. He personally ensured she received therapy, protection, and a future far away from fear. But guilt lingered, not because he had caused it, but because he hadn't seen it. Because privilege had made him blind. The mansion that once symbolized triumph became a monument of regret. Its gates, once closed to the world, now stood open as a warning. Racism doesn't always shout in the streets. Sometimes it whispers through polite smiles and quiet hallways. Sometimes it hides in the places we least expect, even in the homes of those who believe they've escaped it. So the question remains, how many more hidden rooms must be opened before the world finally learns? Where are you watching from? Take care.